Hawkeye has wrapped up with a finale that tied everything together and opened new threads for future stories, because they all do that, right? BD here with your Hawkeye episode 6 breakdown. I just needed another reason to wear this sweater. This will be a full spoilers video, some Easter eggs, an ending explained type deal. You know how we do it here. My full review and reaction to the episode will be at the end of the video. Let's jump in.
It's supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be scary.
Let's start with Kingpin. He's officially in the MCU, controlled by Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, with Marvel TV and Jeff Loeb's casting of Vincent D'Onofrio back in the part. This time around, he uses a cane, which makes him a touch more comics accurate than he was on Netflix, I guess. And he is very much the adoptive father of Maya Lopez. On Netflix's Daredevil, Fisk was last seen being beaten by Matt Murdock and thrown in jail, which would have been around 2018, so a lot can happen in 5 or more years if Wilson Fisk was not snapped away by Thanos. But it seems Marvel Studios might be doing a variant version of the character to give him a fresh start, because this version is an absolute tank. Also, his introduction on the Netflix world came with smashing someone's head in a car door, and in this series he rips a car door from a car to get to Eleanor Bishop. So that felt like a nice nod and gave me some really violent flashbacks. Everything going on with Wilson Fisk gets Kazi all but killed because Kazi shows loyalty to him instead of Maya, but I think there's a good chance Kazi is still alive, and we'll see him again in the MCU as a full-fledged clown villain like he is in comics.
Clown paint.
Kingpin also seems to have been killed in this series, but in the MCU, if you don't see a body, don't plan the funeral. Not only does Kingpin get shot with an arrow and hit by a car and boomed by an explosion and survive it all, but in comics, Maya has shot Kingpin in the face before, and he has survived it. Safe bet he returns in the Echo series on Disney Plus with his vision damaged, and the New York City street-level heroes and villains are going to start popping up and populating the city. In the Matt Fraction and Davida Ha comics, there is a shootout inside a big New York City building that leads to Clint jumping out of the window, and that's in this episode as well, a nice nod. Much like more of the arrows from those books, including the Sonic arrow, the Smoke Bomb arrow, and others we saw them crafting. And yes, there's a Stark Tech logo, so if that's an Easter egg anymore, then yeah, it's there. Yelena and Clint talk about Natasha's sacrifice on Vormir, and Yelena gets a bit of closure after Clint knows the secret whistle. It's not so secret after all, and she finds out that she was actually very important to Natasha all along. That whistle was introduced in the Black Widow movie earlier this year. Jack Ducane, my mustache-twirling himbo, is not a villain. He uses his sword to fight off tracksuit mafia men, and this seems to be the closest he's going to come to Jack's swordsman counterpart from comics. Man, I feel like tracksuiters were just brutally murdered by the dozen in this episode. Are any of them okay? That one guy's leg was totally frozen. Did it shatter? Ultimately, Clint and Kate defeat the evil for now and do so in new costumes that reflect their costumes from the comic books, and that's always cool to see. Seems to be a trend on Disney+. The popular theories about Laura Barton being a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent known as Mockingbird turn out to be true when the Rolex is recovered and it has a S.H.I.E.L.D. logo and a number 19 on the back. This seems to cancel out the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent 19. That was the Bobby version, but maybe in the multiverse we'll find out they're all kind of canon, and this just fits the MCU narrative more snugly, and it could also explain how Clint and Laura met and lead to Linda Cardellini beating people up with batons.
Oh, that's cool.
And also shout out to Tony Stark for having the OG theory about Laura Barton being a secret agent all the way back in Avengers Age of Ultron.
This is an agent of some kind.
Reaction time. I think the Hawkeye series was great overall. I'm honestly surprised by how good it was. And it's probably the most rewatchable series of the Disney Plus shows so far. Much like WandaVision, I think the series is better than its finale. The finale had great action and pacing, but the story takes a sudden turn when Kingpin comes in for a quick intro and outro. I do appreciate that the series and finale cannot be like earth-shattering, MCU-altering stories and still have us feel the stakes and great character moments. The heaviest moment of the finale came from Yelena, and it was a beautiful scene that came with closure for her in regards to losing Natasha. But it's also kind of strange that Clint or Kate didn't have the more emotional finale when they were the stars of this show. Still, Yelena is awesome. Her hair looks really cool. Her fight moves are super dope, but also I gotta go back to her hair. It looked so cool. And Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld are tremendous together. Just so much talent. It was a very good finale that felt like it whipped through storylines a bit, and I'm giving this episode an 8.4 out of 10. What did you think of the Hawkeye finale? Rate it out of 10 in the comment section to let us know you watched this video through to the end, and hit me up on Instagram at BrandonDavisBD if you want to talk more. We had a Tracksuit Mafia takeover on Phase Zero this week, so be sure to check that out on any major podcast platform because it was a ton of fun, and head over to Comicbook.com/Marvel for more updates. I'm BD. I'll see you there. One last thing though, where was Spider-Man? My man was in Rockefeller Center to end his movie, and then in this one, he was just like, no. That guy doesn't know me. The real me.